Okay, let's talk about some of the other storylines in sports. Indy 500, 4-hour rain delay. They finally got the race underway. I told you the pre-race activities were emotional.
Oh,
They were
very.
they were so cool. And then they start the race, and it was utter chaos. They had 10 cars crash in the first 100 laps. In fact, they didn't get out of the first lap before there was a wicked crash at the back end. Guys running 30, 31, 32, and 33 wiped themselves out. They got to the 100 lap mark, and from then on, it was a race. And because there were so many accidents early, so many cautions, the pit sequences of when you get fuel and tires got all out of whack for half these teams. Some were coming early, some were coming late, had extra laps. It was crazy. And then after the final series of accidents, there might have been 50 to 60 laps left. 4 drivers got bunched together, and they were all the hottest cars. And after the final pit stops, let me get this correct. The final pit stops, the pack of 4, Josef Newgarden, Alexander Rossi, Pato O'Ward, Scott Dixon, came out of the pits almost simultaneously. And when they finally went to green, they were all 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th. That collective group roared through the pack and got to the front with about 10 laps to go. And then they were darting and dashing, and one guy would lead for a lap, get past, etc. And the final couple of laps, there were 4 lead changes between Newgarden and the Mexican star Pato O'Ward. Newgarden passed him with a lap to go, held him off, got the $3.6 million first place prize money, parked his car at the start line on the bricks, ran into the stands with the fans. I mean, it was really cool. And then he came back. Pato O'Ward, who's gone from 6th, 4th, 2nd, had the lead, lost the lead. He sat in his car on pit lane and cried. It was an amazing race. And Roger Penske wins his 20th Indy 500. It was just an electric day. But I'll tell you, the final 5 laps, Newgarden, O'Ward take the lead, undershoot the guy, get the lead back. Newgarden passes him again. All those changes in the final laps at 220 miles an hour. And then the weirdest thing, and it's never happened before because of the rain delay and then all the cautions, they were still racing at 7:30 Indy time, which is 4:30 out here. We got a lot of sunshine.
Yeah.
They were in the shadows of the track. And the track conditions, once they got under cloud cover and the sun went down, that track cooled right down, which meant speeds went up. So these dudes were darting and dashing at like 230 miles an hour in that traffic. So it was a hell of a race, and Josef Newgarden wins it for the 2nd year in a row. I know you watched it. I know I tried to educate you about it. That was a pretty cool day.
Yeah. I mean, you're sending me text messages during the whole thing. It was great. It was a great event, and it was weird how the rain, during the pre-race festivities kind of threw them off course. But one thing I'm always amazed with IndyCar is that sometimes, they're drafting and it looks like they're both maxing, all the cars are maxing out with their accelerator. But then suddenly you'll see the cars move sideways and then whoop, 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 and then they pass them. And meanwhile, my son was telling me that they had the F1 in Monaco and there was very little passing and the fans were really upset.
Well, that's on a road track, a small road track at Monaco Grand Prix, and it's very hard to pass. And they had 3 cars knock themselves out on the first turn of the road course. So, Indy is the oval, 2.5 miles.
Right.
This is all over the place in Monaco. So it was, it was weird. The wildest part of the Indy 500, you watch these guys dart and dash at the front. There's turbulence. The air comes off all those cars and keeps filtering to the cars back. And I'll tell you, when you're in traffic, when you're 2 or 3 abreast and you're getting all that dirty air from all the cars in front, I don't know how you steer. I don't know how you prevent the thing from getting away or have air get under the car, which gets you airborne, which causes a bad accident. So those drivers, they are gladiators. I mean, I have stood on the wall at Indianapolis during Carburation Day, which is when they all run together just to get it all sorted out and just to see how fast those guys fly. And they're right next to each other, or they're, if you will, bumper to bumper at 230 miles an hour. You talk about in your heart, holy cow, in your throat.
What did you think of the rookie Kyle Larson?
He made 2 mistakes that kind of wrecked the day. Started 5th after the first yellow flag, as they got ready to restart, he shifted into the wrong gear and he slowed down and he went from 5th to 14th, just like that.
Wow.
That was a rookie mistake in an Indy car.
Mm-hmm.
Then later in the race, he fought from where he was. I think he got from all the way back to 14, fought his way up to 6th. And then there were more cautions. Everybody was pitting. He made a speed violation in the pits, which means you go around, have to come back, stop, and then take off. So he wound up, I think he wound up finishing maybe 14th or 15th. But had he not made those mistakes, the gear thing and the pit penalty, he might have been still running with Award and Newgarden, those guys at the end.
That was a cool story. And he made it to the other race too.
Because of all the rain delays, he got there. And just as he was not in the car at the start of the race, they had a backup driver. He got there, pit stop because of a rain delay in Charlotte. He got into the car, waited. They canceled the rest of the race because of heavy rains. There's 115 laps. They didn't get to run at Charlotte, and he was sitting in his car and could not get out of the pits.
I didn't know you could have a backup driver.
Yes.
That's a thing?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. All teams have backup drivers. If somebody gets hurt, somebody gets sick, a lot of things happen in the cockpit of a NASCAR that you can interchange guys if need be.
Interesting.
So we got that story. Boy, it's been a dark day talking about all those other stories. This is a terrible story in the PGA. His name is Grayson Murray, a journeyman PGA golfer at age 30, committed suicide right in the middle of the Charles Schwab Invitational in Fort Worth. Murray, who had been on the Pro Tour, lost his card, has fought through mental health issues and alcoholism, went back to the developmental series, the Korn Ferry series, where all the young guys are, try to play to get their card, got his card back, came back onto the tour. He won 3 events on Korn Ferry last year to get his PGA card back. He won at Sony. He won the first weekends of the season when the tour started in Hawaii, and everybody just wrapped their arms around him. Anyhow, he is up and he's down, and he had a decent start Thursday at the Colonial. Friday, he had 3 bogeys in a row, was 5 over par, and pulled out of the tournament, and evidently went back to the hotel and killed himself. And he has had a history of mental health issues and alcoholism and depression. It was shocking. The PGA commissioner flew in and met with the Players Tour Board and said, should we cancel this tournament? The family said, no, go ahead and play it in his honor. I watched some of the interviews with the PGA guys. It was hard. Excuse me. It was really hard. And it shows the depths of mental health illnesses. And his family said everybody was supportive of him and he was loved, but there were too many roller coasters. Even when he won at the Sony the next week, he was fearful of going on the course in the next tournament because he didn't know how he was going to do. There was some type of mental capacity that made him scared or made him worry or made him think all the time that he was going to fail. And they just, despite medication and counseling, and the fact that he did come back and he won last year on the development tour 3 times, got his card back, they just never were able to find any balance at all. So it was just a horrific PGA story. And I saw that. And I said, holy cow. And he's got so many friends on the tour. Those guys had to tee off and then play on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, that's pretty rough. I mean, it just goes to show you that these are regular people with regular people issues.
Exactly. Well said. The other story is really unique, and we haven't heard the end of this story yet. I don't know. Any soccer fans out there? Do you like our coverage of the English Premier League? I write a lot on my website about it. Manchester United, legendary power, best record of all time, EPL, finished in 8th place this year. They really scuffled and struggled. And ownership, they changed ownership at midseason. New leadership comes in, and they're changing everything. The whole structure of how they operate the franchise, how they pay, et cetera, et cetera. And they're going to change managers. Eric Van Tag has been there for a couple of years. This was the worst year Man U ever had in the English Premier League. Finished 8th. They were always at the top of the table.
Yeah, they were.
Always signed all the great players, et cetera. So anyhow, EPL season ended a week ago. Manchester City won it for the 4th year in a row, which had never, ever been done, even during the Man U era. So they have all these other tournaments in Europe, the Champions League, the Europa League, the FA Cup. Manchester United on the weekend beats Manchester City in the FA Cup
Oh, wow.
and wins the cup. And Van Tag, the beleaguered coach, takes the trophy and holds it up, and everybody's writing he's going to get fired because of where they finished, what's the demise of the program, holds it up and says, okay, you can fire me if you want, but I'll come back and beat you next year with some other team. It was the most amazing thing. Manchester City is just staggering. Now, Manchester City might be burned out because they've had a long season, et cetera, and that, winning the EPL a fourth time is the greatest endeavor ever. But that was so weird to see, Man U beat these guys, then Van Tag say what he said, flaunting them, go ahead and fire me. It was an amazing weekend in soccer. So that's my corner kick soccer story for you.
It reminds me of Dan Monson at Long Beach State.
Yeah.
You're right. He got fired and then he won the Big West. But yeah, Man City, I know historically has been terrible for so long when Man U was dominant, and then the tides have turned on this. But, it just goes to show you that is just a really competitive league with a lot of really talented players. So once they figure it out, it doesn't surprise you maybe that Man U can knock them off.
I would bet by this coming Thursday when we do our next podcast, he might be applying for a job co-hosting with us.
Yeah,
I think he's going to get axed. But how weird is that to beat Man City after what Manchester City just accomplished? Okay, time for Fans Forum.